from the source.
All right, Caroline Baldwin is in the studio, and she's waiting for you to call her. The number is 622-9622. If you have a question about your lawn or your garden, this is your best opportunity to get that question answered. Caroline is a master gardener, and she does this show on a volunteer basis every Tuesday. So write it down. Did I say something wrong? Okay,
No.
How you doing? You
I'm
look good.
good.
You look
Well,
different.
thank
You got your hair different.
Yeah, well, the front's long, so I got to pull it back now and get it out of my eyes.
Ah.
It's one of those, do I want to cut it or do I not? And it's like, okay, elastic band.
So if you want to call Caroline, 622-9622. Do you notice the apple trees missing?
Yeah, the big one's missing. It's at home.
It's home.
It's home.
It's got a half barrel. It lives in a half barrel.
Oh, okay, nice.
Yeah.
And this poor little guy needs to be staked up.
He's
trying to go in circles, kind of
take over where his brother left off.
That's it. So he just needs a little support, so a little crutch there.
So I don't think like when you grow corn, you get close to the plant. You're ready to cut it down. It's like raising a pig. You don't really get close to it.
No, you're right. I mean, we care for it and go, come on, grow. We want you to grow. Don't get bugs and and it's like, oh, look, we're going to steal your children. Corn. Yeah. But you're right. I mean, sometimes people get a little over attached to some plants, but
how you doing? Yeah, I'm attached to my plant. I really am.
You are. Yeah, it's been a fun. It's been a fun project there, and I mean, I check on mine every day pretty much. And, I walk by it.
I went to tell you this. I went to get the half barrel.
Okay.
At Lowe's.
Okay. Yeah.
And so the lady's talking to me, and I said, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just
playing.
Can you recommend the dirt? What kind of dirt should I get? Or should I just dig it up out of the backyard? She said, well, what are you planting?
Mm-hmm.
I said an apple tree, but I know everybody says it's not going to grow here. She goes, no, we sell apple trees,
right?
So
yeah, well, we sell apple tree, but like we said, like we found out, we don't know what this tree will be, and because it was grown from a seed, it's just fun. I mean, it may or may not ever fruit. It might be, who knows?
So I got shrub and trees. I think it's what it said on it.
Tree and shrub. So see now, if it were me, even though it's a whiskey barrel, even though it's a huge thing, the tree and shrub, watch it doesn't stay too wet, because that's for planting in the ground.
What is
tree and shrub soil? The tree and shrub is a garden. Garden meaning right in the ground. Unlike a potting soil, which is for containers.
So what that means, it's going to stay too wet?
Possibly.
It's got a hole in the bottom.
And with the whiskey barrel, the wood in the whiskey barrel can take some of the moisture away. Personally, I probably would have told you to use a potting mix. But that's a lot of potting mix to do in a whiskey barrel, or at least have mixed some of that in there
with normal dirt, or with
the other bagged mix.
Okay. Well,
or some of them will actually say, and it's funny because the raised bed soils actually tell you don't put them in a container. Well, what is a raised bed but a big container?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And I think their concern is also on moisture and things like that. Yeah. Well, we'll wish it the best. We'll figure it out.
Bag.
Yeah, it is.
Big, heavy bag of dirt.
Yeah, of a composted. Yeah, it's. Yeah.
If you ever told me I was going to buy dirt, I would have said.
And the crazy thing is I buy dirt.
Why would
all
I
the
buy
time.
dirt? Why would I buy a bottle of water?
Well,
why would I buy a bag of dirt?
Yeah. Why would you buy a bag of manure?
That's true.
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Because the soils. Okay, here's a good explanation. For in your garden, the soils we have many times are deplete. We have very sandy soil. Our soils here in Florida need to be enriched. And the best way or the easiest way to do that is to go out and purchase a ready blended garden mix, whether or not you go out and you buy Jungle Grow or Stay Green or Lambert or Miracle Grow garden soil, or you go to the dirt pile or Dirt Cheap or somewhere like that, and you have a truckload delivered. It's a blend that's compost and shredded bark and different things that are added in there that will benefit, especially Florida soil, but other soils in other states too that may have a lot of clay in them that you're needing to make a better growing area. Now, if you're putting it into a pot, there's a whole nother reason we don't dig the soil out of the ground. Bugs, again, deplete soil, not the best soil for a house plant or a potted plant. So the potting mixes are very, very light because you bought the potting mixes to grow them here in the clay pots. And you remember how light and fluffy those bags were as compared to your 2 cubic foot bag of tree and shrub and tough, heavy in the ground kind of stuff. Okay. So that's where you get some of that.
I knew I should have asked you. All right. We do have a phone call.
Oh, fantastic.
Good morning. You're on the air with Carol Ann.
Hey, good morning, Larry. Good morning, Carol Ann.
Good morning.
Hey.
I got a quick question for you, Carol Ann.
Okay.
I've been using a gallon of vinegar, a pound of Epsom salts, and several drops of dishwashing detergent as a herbicide.
Okay.
Are these plants like taking gym classes at night because it doesn't affect them much anymore?
Nope. Well, because all you're doing is burning the tops off. You're not touching the roots. It just burns the tops off of them. It's not killing the roots. So that root keeps coming back, and it's going to try to be a stronger plant. So your better thing is to just either start pulling them or realizing that you're probably not going to win the battle with the homemade kind of stuff.
Well, that's not very encouraging, Carol.
Well, I know. There are if you're looking for an organic herbicide, I would look on the market and actually purchase one. University does not recommend you doing the vinegar, and the vinegar also is not. It's a non-selective herbicide. Whatever you spray, the top part, it's going to burn it off or damage. The dish soap just helps it to stick. Plus, it's an insecticide. That's just all that is. The Epsom salts is magnesium sulfate. It's actually a fertilizer. So if you're using magnesium sulfate, it may not build up in the soil as such, except for as a nutritional. It in itself probably isn't burning anything of the weeds.
Okay, I'll see if I can find an organic.
Yeah,
I'm really trying to avoid all the chemicals and stuff in the yard.
Sure. And a lot of times, if it's in the lawn, it could just be one of those things to go, and if it's green, I'm going to mow it. If it's in the flower beds or vegetable gardens, a simple hoe will cut them off right underneath the soil level. Pick them out and throw them away before, to try to hoe them before they go to seed. If it's in the cracks in the sidewalks and things like that, the either the organic or synthetic herbicides.
All right, thank you, Caroline. It is cracks in the concrete. You guys have a wonderful day.
All righty.
Thank you. So I have a story related to that.
Okay.
It's I'll just read the headline.
Sure.
A jury awards $289 million to a man who blames Roundup for cancer.
Mm-hmm. And it's a jury, so a jury has to take and
that's something.
It is, because I believe that's over the top.
I think this was an industrial guy, though.
And that's what I'm saying, because you get a lot of people are going, see, we all said it was. If you're working with it constantly, if you are that kind of thing, you are part of the manufacturing process and this and that, Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different things, and that this jury said that there was enough evidence, that he provided enough evidence, against it to, in his case, his attorneys did, that said, yeah, this is so. The casual user, I mean, I have Roundup at the house. I use it 3 times a year in a couple of different spots, especially some trouble areas. So, if I were to get cancer, I'm sure it's probably more than likely for my 20 years I smoked before I quit, versus or some other things that I'm exposed to much more often than that kind of.
It does say a hose broke at one point in his career, and
he may have gotten a whole
50
coverage.
gallons that he would spread out, at any given time. That's what his job. So.
Right.
But the hose broke and soaked his entire body. So.
Right. And in order to he may have absorbed it through his mucous membranes of his mouth and his eyes and things like that. And that's where you have some problems. That's why it's also important as a homeowner to read and follow the directions on mixing and the rest of it.
Your mantra. That's your mantra, right?
It is.
Hey, you do have another phone call. Good morning. You're on there with Carol Ann.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Morning.
Mike McCoy. Carolyn, I have a question for you regarding peach tree.
Okay.
My wife and I have this fantastic peach tree. This year, we would have had about 1,500 peaches on it, except the squirrels ate every single one of them.
Yeah.
Before they even, but next year we'll be having squirrel stew, I'll assure you.
I would say.
But, my question is, I have this tree, and it's planted out near an area that we had a water main that had broken. We didn't know about it. We had a little water leak, about 69,000 gallons, so the county said.
Wow.
Yeah. But we noticed that it's right near this peach tree.
Okay.
And the tree it's not looking happy.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm sure that it has something to do with the
extra
with the
water.
There's no question about it.
Yeah.
So my question is this going to recover? And is there anything that we can, any remediation you can do to help it along?
Probably, I'm going to say to you, I'm going to hope it's going to recover. Peaches are a crop that do not like to be flooded, to be underwater. And it's funny because I have peaches. If Larry can see, I have peaches up on my screen because that was one of the topics during our continued education last week, when I wasn't here. And peaches are one crop that really do not like to ever go underwater. And I'm not sure how long do you think that, I mean, you said gallonage, how many days, weeks, do you have any idea?
Well, what's really funny is that where this actually was discovered, we also had banana trees growing there.
Okay.
And you could cut these trees down, and within a day they were back to 2 feet tall. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know how they grow.
Bananas.
I mean, these
like
things flourished. They were flourishing. So I would say that this was a minimum. The major part of it. They said we were flowing at about 6 gallons a minute.
Wow. Okay.
And a minimum of 2 months.
Oh boy. Yeah. I mean, if it has stopped now, only thing you've got to do almost is just hope for the best. I mean, I would continue your fertilization, whatever program you were doing to have such a tree that was fantastic before all this was, went on, and just continue that, because what it is the root zone. It's not anything on the top. It's just trying to nourish what's left of the tree. If it was mostly just to one side of the tree versus the other, it may create some new roots from that other side to help to support the growth of that tree. I'd be kind of hoping for the best and saying a prayer to the peach overlord to help
what
that to come
we
back.
do as far as observance? How can we look and see if this is going to be something we may see new growth and in buds or something like that?
Yeah, well, this time of year, I mean, you may end up with a little more new growth on it, but you figure those trees are going to start to lose leaves in another 2 months here,
Exactly,
and go into a dormancy. And I think during that time, you might be checking, just scratching the bark and seeing to make sure that it's green underneath there.
Right.
I mean, are your leaves still on? Are they still green?
What, the leaves?
Yeah.
I'm virtually gone. The leaves are virtually off of it already.
Okay. I would be checking to see if there's any green underneath, starting out at the branches and then working my way back down. It's a tough one. I mean, if you've got a few dead branches here or there, it might recover. But if it's starting to go, because the roots, usually when the roots go, the far branches, the tips start to go first because it can't carry all the way to the top of the tree. And then it works its way back. So, but it still would have to, that root zone would need to improve before that tree's going to recover. Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Good information as always.
All right, you're welcome.
Thank you, Mike. The phone number, if you'd like to call in and speak to Caroline, is 622-9622. And it's interesting how chemicals have become part of working in the garden. And I'm guessing they always have, but just in the old, like let's say 100 years ago, they were. Yeah, they were
all right. They were little home remedies, or it was a matter of in the home garden, say 100, 150 years ago, people had more time in that garden, so they tended to it a little more closely. Yeah. And when there was a problem, they took care. They removed it. That's sometimes the easiest way, especially if you're in a, trying to do with either less synthetic product, is when you have a problem is just to remove a problem. I mean, we can fight fungal issues, and there are some organic products out that can help to fight those. But usually those, when you're going organic on that, you are preventing them versus trying to cure that. But once you get into things like a virus in a plant, the only thing you can really do is just pull it out and destroy it. With the problem that he has with his peach, this was just a flooding. It wasn't a chemical issue. It was that the root zone was kept saturated. And as I said, that's one. And it's funny because that was mentioned during the training we just had through our summer institute, is that peaches don't like to be flooded. That someone actually lost a whole peach orchard after one of the hurricanes. Oh, wow. Because that peach orchard stayed underwater for an extended time.
Oh, wow.
And so
it
drowned them. Yeah. So I don't like to be negative on things like that, but he may have lost the tree because of that. So might be hunting up another one. If it was a great tree, find the same kind because it was a happy tree for our area.
And then do something different with the ground.
No, because this was a water main break. So it wasn't something where his, maybe get it a little further away from that. Just so that should that happen again, it would be, further away from it.
Let's see. If you would like to call in, the number is 622-9622. If you would like to ask Caroline a specific question about a plant in your yard, and you need her to see it, there's a way to do this. Caroline has a Facebook page, which is fun, and it's a great way to share visuals. Caroline posts pictures there all the time.
Yeah, anybody can.
It's easy. It's just called In the Garden.
Right.
And there you go. You'll just have to.
You do have to ask to be a member to join, but that's simple. If you're, if you're not coming on, if I, sometimes I'll check and see, who you are, if you're a business or something like that, so long as you're not trying to sell stuff to the people who are also on there, we're good. Anybody can.
So what is the word that means a tree loses its leaves in the winter? What is
deciduous?
Okay. So that's what an apple tree is, right?
Correct.
So this winter didn't lose its leaves.
No, well, these are kind of protected trees.
Okay.
And they're
so now that it's
young.
outside, it's outside.
Right. It may lose its leaves this winter. So
it'll be just a little twig sticking up on the ground?
It'll be a stick, and so
it'll
be all right.
But it'll be all right?
It'll be all right. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's that they're fine doing that.
Gonna be worried about it all winter long.
Oh, I know you will.
I'll put a Christmas ball on it.
Put a decoration.
It'll be a Charlie Brown Christmas tree.
That can work too. That we just take care of them, and in the wintertime with anything like a large container like that, it's something that you can just tuck it somewhere in the wintertime. Even our containers, our gardens, we don't water them as much. They have gone into a dormancy. They are resting. They don't want to be fed. They don't need excessive water. The growing season usually starts, I always like to say the 1st of March. I mean, depending on the winter, it could be a little earlier, but most things don't really begin to break their dormancy truly until March. Our lawns don't. Trees and shrubs don't really start to put on any growth until and it's part of that is day length. It is nighttime temperatures. Everybody seems to think the daytime's where it is. It's nighttime temperatures. And such like that. So while they're resting well and everything like that, minimal care, no fertilizer. You don't feed an unconscious person. You don't feed an unconscious plant. No, don't. And usually you don't even give them something to drink. If they're unconscious, you can't. A plant lightly, because they can't. Right. You don't want their root zones to dry out. But if you have plants like I have some of the torch gingers, and mine are still in pots. So when they die back, I just have to ignore them, but water them maybe once a month unless we get some rain.
Really?
So, and just don't forget where they're at,
See, now I'm the guy who said, I don't even worry about things. I just let God take care of it, right?
Right.
And the garden has always proven that it was a good idea for me to just let it go.
Just
so why am I so worried about this tree?
Because it's your baby.
Because I grew it from an apple seed?
You grew it from a seed. Exactly. You grew your baby.
Did you do the same thing?
I mean, we all think, especially when I'm starting small plants, and it's one of those things. Do I want to put more than 2 seeds in that pot because I'm going to hate to cut one off, but I really don't need 15 of this thing if they all germinate. Yeah. So it's one of those kind of things, it's sometimes easier said that because you've planted multiple ones. I mean, I have one. You've guardianed out 3 others?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So 4 of them have left here. You've got the big one at the house. There's another quite large one here that just needs a stake there to hold him up, and another smaller one that's coming. Actually, 2 smaller ones that are coming along. And
I know.
So it's fun. We've got you hooked on apple tree gardening at least,
and they were all from apples that I ate,
Right. They were all, out of the core of
In fact, I still eat apples, but I've stopped putting the seeds in the dirt until it's getting
to be an obsession.
It's too much. Yeah. Well, not for that reason. It's just that there's too many to take care of.
Right. And that's right. Exactly. That sometimes we have to realize, okay, unless somebody says, hey, I want one of these, can you start me one? And I actually need to do some cuttings for some plants because somebody says, oh, I'd like to have one of those. And it's like, okay, I could get a cutting for you and do a couple of them just in case. Yeah.
Here's the thing, though. The apple trees that were for sale at Lowe's were at least 7 or 8 feet tall. And they were in pots.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not much bigger than that big pot right there.
No, they're in about a 2-gallon. They're in about a 2-gallon pot. Yeah. They really do need to go in the ground when they're, when you get them, on that, really? get them in the ground quickly.
And they have branches too.
Yes, they have somewhat of branches, but they're still small trees.
Yeah.
So there.
All right, we are up against the break. I see the phone lit up, so please hang in there. Be patient with us. We'll take a break with the news and a couple of commercials, and we'll be right back with Carol Ann Baldwin. If you would like to call in and you don't know the number, it's 622-9622. If you would like to watch Carol Ann, go to YouTube. The channel is the WOCA, The Source. So you'll find the channel. It'll say live, and there you'll see Carol Ann. We'll be right back.
Fox News Radio. I'm Chris Foster. 2 people are hurt by a man driving a car into pedestrians and people on bikes near Parliament in London. It's being treated as terrorism.
Our priority now is to formally establish the identity of the suspect and establish his motivation if we can. He is not currently cooperating.
Scotland Yard Assistant Commissioner Neil Basu. An anonymously set up online fundraising page for the now fired FBI agent Peter Strzok has more than $211,000 in donations toward his legal fees and lost income.
Strzok had been removed from the Russia investigation after anti-Trump text messages were revealed last year. Strzok worked at the FBI for more than 2 decades. He was central to the investigation into Hillary Clinton's emails, but a Justice Department Inspector General's report found bias did not influence decisions made by investigators in that case.
Fox's Jared Halpern in Washington. Fox News. We report, you decide.
My number 2 does not look like a number 2. I don't know what to call it. Is there a number 3?
Table for 4, please. Anything close to the restroom.
A middle seat with these stomach problems? That's my fear of flying.
Sound like you? If it does, you could be one of the many people with a digestive condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. Even if you don't know what EPI is, you might know the symptoms. Frequent diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain. If you have even just one of these symptoms, you could still have EPI, because not everybody experiences EPI the same way, which is why it's so important to open up to your doctor about all your symptoms. And the good news is, EPI is manageable, so don't keep a lid on it. Go to identifyepi.com, complete the symptom checker, and use it to have a conversation with your doctor. Don't keep a lid on it. Visit identifyepi.com. Brought to you by AbbVie.
Late summertime is the best time to plant trees. Most young trees like hot weather, and they really love these rainy afternoons. And the best place to buy your trees is Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens in Ocala, where the selection is huge and the prices are almost too low to believe. Right now, you can buy 2 extra-large number 5 size trees delivered, planted, and guaranteed with a record-breaking low price of $139. Just $139 for 2 trees, average 5 to 6 feet tall. $139 delivered, planted, and guaranteed. Now, if you want 2 larger trees, try the extra-large trees up to 8 feet. They're $199 delivered, planted, and guaranteed. These are new history-making low prices on trees at Bob Wine's Camellia Gardens in Ocala. Check them out. Go to bobwinescamelliagardens.net for the complete list of specials. Bob Wine, Southeast 38th Street, Ocala. Daily till 4:30, Saturdays till 3 in the same blooming place since 1952.
Gene Powell Pasture Mowing, 352-629-2440. Our tractor services include bush hog, disking, front-end loader, box blade, and stump grinding. We also have zero-turn mowers for the smaller paddocks, aisleways, fence rows, and lawn care. Fence row spraying is also available for weed control. We are licensed and insured. Gene Powell Pasture Mowing, 352-629-2440, or online at powellgene, Gene, at yahoo.com. Gene Powell Pasture Mowing. Gene is a proud United States veteran.
Hi, I'm Anthony with Finishing Touch Floors. Are you considering covering your old wood floors? Forget about it. Listen in on Wednesday, August 22nd at 10:30 a.m. and let me, with over 35 years experience, inform you how to do wood floors right. That's Wednesday, August 22nd at 10:30 a.m. right here on WOCA 96.3 FM and 1370 AM, The Source.
I'm Jan Marino from Palm Garden, and we are the best. As a matter of fact, we're the best of the best. You can put us to the test, and we'll keep caring without any rest. The Ocala Star banner has a contest, you see. You can vote for Palm Garden, and you can vote for me. Go to ocala.com. It is easy to vote. You can vote every day, so please take note. Palm Garden really is the best. As a matter of fact, we're the best of the best.
Thank you, Jan. 25 minutes before 10 o'clock, let's return to Carol Ann Baldwin. In the Garden with Carol Ann is the name of the show. The phone number to call if you'd like to be on the air with Carol Ann is 622-9622. It happens to work out to 622-WOCA.
Convenient.
And you have a phone call.
Fantastic.
Good morning. Thank you for calling. You're on the air with Carol Ann.
Good morning, Carol Ann.
Good morning, Steve. Yeah.
There was a program or something that my wife had me watch,
Okay.
And it was about garlic. And I was just wondering if you had heard anything about it, that most of our garlic comes from China. And they aren't they use a lot of practices that aren't used anyplace else in the world as far as the garlic goes. They bleach it and cut the little thing off where the roots are and all kinds of good things like that.
Well, one, you don't need the little root pod, when you buy garlic. But I've seen it on Facebook, on social media. I have not really done any investigation on it. California is our largest grower of garlic in our country. So I'm not sure. I would think that out of just pridefulness that California would be labeling their garlic as California or U.S. grown garlic. And so you can make the choice that way, or finding out, which ones you're going to do, including minced garlic and things like that. I'm not sure how, the bleaching and things like that. That's a process, possibly in order to for pest control. I'm not real sure on that. I did not watch. I have not seen that. Right. That thing.
Well, the other thing is if you wanted to grow it, from what I understood is it's not hard to grow if you wanted to do it yourself.
You can. Here in Florida, it's a little harder to grow, only because of the amount, our moisture, our humidity. It does take a long time to grow, like 9 months. So proper planting time is usually around October. Most people think that they're putting stuff in the ground in spring. No, it's going to need to grow through the cooler season, which would be a short day. Garlic is not usually, I don't believe, considered a short day crop. Like we can grow short day onions. You can grow it because it's for, and to try. I mean, it's not something that's impossible to grow, but to get a truly successful crop might take some practice and in order to get, good at it, let's say.
Right. Well, and then the other thing, to go back to what you were talking about with gardens, which sort of another program where it was about depression meals and things like that, where they took everything out of the garden. And you're totally right. People back in the Depression, there weren't jobs.
Right.
So if they happened to have a little land or something, that was the obvious thing to do. And they really watched those gardens because that's what was feeding them.
Correct.
And they grew everything from potatoes to, mushrooms and things like that. Yeah. It was unbelievable, the program that I watched.
Oh, yeah, depending on the size of the area that they had, sure, they, and that was out of necessity and neighbor and family and such working together. I mean, it's, even and that can still be done today. I mean, there's nothing. Gardening really does not take a whole lot of time. But now, if you're going to get into something like a quarter of an acre garden, that's a pretty good sized garden that you're going to, basically be putting somebody almost full time out there on any given time, that you'd probably be looking at several hours at least per day to be able to do something like that, to be able to put back enough produce for yourself and your family.
Yeah, but the big thing with these gardens was the people were eating off of them, so they were out there every day, whether it was harvesting pole beans or cucumbers or whatever.
Sure. Oh, yeah. That you had to have everything. You had to grow well, and it was a self-preservation because the being able to afford food in quantity in quality to feed your families.
Well, anyway, the other thing was, you say you have to have the time. Well, they apparently had the time, but they didn't have the money because obviously it was the Depression.
Right.
And a lot of people think that the Depression was only for a few years. It was at least 10 years that we were under Depression type of economy, until we got into World War II.
Yeah. And so, and two, I mean, some of those practices just carried forward because it was something that it allowed you the fresh produce, which many markets back then still did not have. You would have still been going to farm stands and things like that in order to get those items, only because transportation didn't happen to get, where California is a big growing country, state to bring their crops across even halfway across the country. So everything was very, very seasonal. And so, and in order to have quantity to put by, I mean, otherwise everything was tinned, was canned. You didn't even have the frozen foods that we have today that in order to, so people did garden, a lot, and they had to, your children were home. You didn't have your children in daycare. Generally, the mother of the house was home, and sometimes there was also maybe a grandmother in the household, and they tended the garden and with the children and put by your produce and things like that for the rest of the season that was not going where it was not going to be available.
Well, that was the other thing. Larry and I, we had a pretty good friend in Rory Carmichael and his wife, Thelma, and they experienced that as adults going through. They were very young adults going through the Depression.
Yeah.
So they more or less told us the same thing. That he said his father had that 10 acres, and that's what they did. They actually grew their meals on that 10 acres.
Oh, sure. And that's, and sometimes you may have had enough left, more, sufficient quantity to possibly be able to sell, besides having enough put by for your own family that helped to offset your sugar, your flour, coffee, things like that could not be grown in the home garden.
Well, I was a young kid during World War II. And I can remember seeing the vegetable wagon come around. It was a four-wheeled wagon pulled by a horse, and they either had slanted on both sides or slanted on one side. And the guy was the person was selling, I guess, what he grew off the wagon.
Right.
It was amazing, I mean, you figured, everywhere had a car. They may have had a car, but to sell those their produce, that was the best way to go.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's very interesting, and my main reason for calling was to find out if you heard anything about garlic.
Yeah, and actually, while you were talking, I was trying to look here on the internet, and it's like California garlic still looking excellent on their crop. I don't see where we're going to be overrun by Chinese garlic. Garlic's also grown in Spain. Spain's crop actually is having a little issue because of rain. But not that's not a problem with Mexico. But I mean, it's just you can read the labels. You can find out which ones are going to be U.S. grown. Sometimes these things are grown for American companies just in other locations so that you can have a season that extends into a longer period of time. I mean, we know right now that problems with produce don't only come from farms abroad.
Right.
We have the same issues here.
One of the other things was right up until after World War II, the refrigerated cars that carried the produce, their idea of refrigeration was ice.
Correct.
On both ends of the car.
Right.
The boxcar was an insulated car. They had compartments for big chunks of ice, like whole blocks of ice would be put on both ends so as to keep everything refrigerated as the train left California to head east.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, anyway, that was a big thing, Mr. Garlick. Hang up and have a good day, everybody, and thank you for the programming, and thank you, Carol Ann, for being here for us all.
Thank you for being a listener and a caller, Sonny.
Thank you, Sonny.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you mentioned that Rory Carmichael and his wife. Yeah, I remember. Yeah. We've always had like a very smart audience when it comes to things like, well, everything, political as well as gardening and everything in between. So it's amazing. I think maybe you would agree with this, that we learn from them as much as they hopefully learn from us.
Correct. Yeah. It's
I mean, in your case, you've got a specialty. I don't really have that.
That's specialty is, hey, I like to eat and I like to grow what I eat. So I mean, have fun trying to grow it. So it always tastes better.
So how was the event you went to last week?
That was Master Gardener's Spring and Summer Institute, where they were teaching us. We get certain amount of hours, or we're supposed to have a certain amount of hours every year to stay current with our certification. And it was a very good session. There was a lot of different stuff, a lot on the citrus screening, peaches as an alternative crop for people. The university still is not recommending that people grow citrus, but they understand that people are going to try because it's one of those things of you move to Florida, you want a palm tree and an orange tree.
Right.
Both of which actually have been struggling over the last 10 years, but the citrus industry in Florida, has taken a really bad hit with the citrus screening, the HLB. But they're trying to work on it. They're doing what they can.
What would be a good substitute? A tropical plant that does work well, does grow.
I mean, there's peaches will do well here.
That's considered tropical?
It's not tropical. I mean, it's orange citrus. I mean, I don't think it's considered a tropical fruit.
It's not?
I mean, it's citrus. I mean, it grows in the U.S. From Florida, Texas, Arizona, places like that. And see, now I thought California and those states were probably just about as affected as we are with the citrus screening, and they're not.
Oh, really?
And it's because of our climate. We are much more humid, much wetter, and so that just promotes either the insect pest problem, which that's how citrus greening is vectored, is through a small insect called Asian citrus psyllid. It comes in and it can proliferate here. They're trapping. They're trying to find ways of eliminating that pest, but also you got to try to find trees that might be more resistant to the virus that they're vectoring until that point. Right now they're doing lemons. Lemons seem to be more resistant. So, but our fresh fruit and our juice fruit, because most of Florida's citrus goes into the juice industry. It's not necessarily the fresh market. Now, our grapefruit is one that is a fresh fruit product. It's one that's sent out of the state, and so that too is being affected by it.
We the other day passed a yard, and in the waiting to be picked up by the garbage man was an entire, what I call bayonet plant. I don't know if that's what they're really called.
It's
like a blue-green, very, very...
It's an agave. It's a century plant.
So they just tore it up, and they're just throwing the whole thing away.
Yeah.
So then Robin's mom is the one who said that it seems like we don't see many of them anymore. We used to see them all over the place. What is that accurate? I mean,
I don't know. I see quite a few of them. We sell them. I think people have, because what'll happen is that when that blooms, that main plant dies, and other ones that have been pups that have been growing up underneath there will take their place. But like you said, they're spiny. They hurt.
Oh yeah, you back into them and you mow the lawn.
And if you happen to be weed whacking and you get too close and you break that open, and that the sap that's in there will actually cause quite a serious dermatitis thing.
Really?
That's like a burn kind of rash kind of thing. And so that could be one of those kind of things. They don't want them in there. They just don't like the look. some people are just changing things
out.
Or
the blood pours out of your leg when you're back into it.
Yeah, when you brush up against it, or when the kids throw the ball, and how many
gosh, yes.
things have been done. So it's a matter, I think, of taste on those. But no, I mean, they're still out there. You just people change what the landscapes look like.
And you have another phone call. Good morning. You're on the air with Carol Ann.
Yes, good morning, guys.
Morning.
This is Mr. Hugh calling again with another concern we got for your program. In front of my house, I've got like a stone wall, and I've got these lamps, about 6 or 7 of them, that light up nice at night if you turn them on. But on these lamps, I got these what I call they look like cocoons.
Okay.
On the side, if you take a cigar and cut like 2 inches off, and they're clinging to the chair, and there must have been over 6 lanterns, maybe 10 of them, 12 of them, And are these like caterpillars that are turning into butterflies, or just exactly what I see?
Do they look fuzzy or hairy?
No, there's no fuzz. It looks more like a cigar, like a 2-inch cigar stub attached to the lanterns.
Without seeing what they are, it's hard to say.
Yeah,
it's because it could be if they're hanging down kind of thing and not attached the full length of it, I would say that they're probably a butterfly cocoon. Chrysalis. Yeah. Chrysalis is much more smooth looking versus a cocoon. A cocoon is going to be fuzzy or hairy kind of thing normally, and those have a tendency to be moths.
Yeah, they're just attached a little bit on the top, and then you kind of dangle it. And then it's
dangling down. Yes, and that's going to be a butterfly.
Oh, yeah. So what I've been doing is not so good, and I've been picking them off, and I throw them in the garbage because I didn't know if they're going to be something. Because I got these wonderful Japanese yews bushes all underneath, and I thought maybe they might attack that and cause that a problem. So the last 2 years I've been picking them off whenever I see them, and I just throw them in the garbage. But maybe I should leave them alone, huh?
Yeah, I would leave them alone. Do you know what? I mean, you say are they brown, or are they green, or are they?
Yeah, I would say they're like a dark brown. Like the color of a cigar.
Okay. That's hard to say what you.
And I go by and I just pluck them off. They're hanging on pretty tight, and I throw them in a little bag or baggie or something in the garbage with them because I didn't know if it was going to be something that's going to do some damage or not.
Right. It's like I said, it's hard to tell just by what you're saying on them, because there could be something like a bagworm that could be detrimental to your yews and other evergreens that are, like in that similar family. But those are usually going to look, they do look a little different. You might be able to describe it, I guess, as looking like a piece of a cigar or something like that. But if you could do picture of it and either send it to the In the Garden page or send it to WOCA's page, kind of thing, that would work. Or if you wanted to pick a couple off and put them in a little plastic container, drop them by the studio sometime, we'll let a couple of them die if they're something good, just to be able to see them and get an idea actually what they are.
Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. I'll pluck. They're all gone now, okay. And but they're only on this lamp. They're not anywhere else. It's kind of unusual, And I'll pluck a couple off and put them in an envelope and then drop it off.
Sure. That's probably going to be the best way to try to get an ID.
Yeah. It's funny. They only come a certain time of the year. And like I said, I never let them last long enough to do whatever they do, eventually turn into a caterpillar or fly away or whatever,
Right.
So it's kind of interesting.
And most pests or most insects are seasonal like that. They have a certain time in which they either are breeding or laying eggs or feeding, or the larval stage is feeding, and things like that. It is usually seasonal, not normally a year-round kind of thing. You don't usually see butterflies laying eggs in the wintertime because the cold temperatures, it would kill them. So it's just one of those, that this time of year, this maybe end of July, early August kind of thing, is when those are either going into their dormancy or cocoon for the next phase.
Yeah. Okay. Good idea. I'll drop a couple of samples off, and then maybe next week you can clue us in on exactly what we're looking at here.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We got about 5 minutes left. If you'd like to call in, it's enough time to get an answer from Carolyn. The advice is always to call as early as possible, but once you're at this point, it's kind of hard to do that.
Kind of hard to do. And actually, if you're interested, Robin had made 2 gift certificates to Bob Wine's Community Gardens and Nurseries to give away. So if we've got a couple callers here in the next couple minutes, we can give away 2 of those. And I know as I was riding over here today, they got some great tree sales going on, and that's the buying, 2 trees delivered and installed and guaranteed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can't get much better than that. So, $20 off on something like that, or that allowing you to buy something else, but realize it is strictly on the plant material, not on any of their pine needles or other fertilizers and stuff.
So is it a stupid question, or is it too late for some plants? August, it feels like it's the middle of summer.
Right. But we are coming towards winter. And
so are there some things you would avoid getting right now?
No, right now you're realizing that you may have just a shorter time, but it's August. Many of our summer annuals are going to last all the way into October. And maybe your garden just needs a little freshening because some of those got big or leggy or something like that. And trying to cut back annuals, they don't fill back in real well. Perennials, you still got time to get those established in the landscape before they're going to start to do their winter dormancy, and things like that. It's getting those established in there. So it's a good time for all of them.
Yeah. So, and do you take questions like on your Facebook page?
I have, yeah. I mean, we get some, what
always
is it kind of things.
That kind of identify.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those. Yeah, what is this thing or whatever? And I've had some people just sort of private message me on it from there as well, and going, hey, listen, this is what I've got. That I think some have a little harder time trying to post a picture, and I don't know why. If your picture's in your camera roll, in your phone. And of course, then again, maybe it's in your phone and you're on your computer instead that you're doing that. It's, you can get the pictures on there pretty easy if it's,
it is phone. Very easy, but sometimes it can be. It's easy if you know how to do it. Put it that way.
Right. There you go.
Once you
and a lot of people don't like to do social media and things like that via their telephones, though they take their picture with their phone. So unless they import their photos back to their computer, it's hard to get those to go.
So you know what I got on my phone? I got a new app.
Oh, you've got a new app?
For Chick-fil-A.
Ah.
So yesterday I used it to order from the Chick-fil-A in there.
Okay,
I could probably.
Yeah, you could yell probably to order.
But when you order from them, you have to go back out into the park and that little space in the back.
Oh.
So Robin stood there with her hands on an imaginary steering wheel and waited for them to come out and bring her the food.
Bring the food because they're not going to.
When they came out, funny. They were looking for the car.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah,
that's cute. Yeah. All kinds of new apps for doing things like that.
I was looking at something the other day about this guy who survived on Acorns. I can't remember who it was. He was stuck in someplace, and he was basically eating. I know.
Eating acorns.
Have you ever tried to eat an acorn?
Yeah, I tasted an acorn once. Yeah, but I mean, if you roast them, you can then turn them into a flour, and then
if you're gonna die if you don't eat something.
I mean, I think I'd be looking for some other stuff too. I mean, I might resort to bugs at that point, but it's all that fun stuff.
Speaking of bugs,
we
found a candy store that actually sells crickets.
Crickets? Oh yeah. Are they?
No, they're just regular crickets that are bacon flavored. So you're actually eating what looks like a bug.
Okay.
They also have the chocolate covered stuff, so you can't really see it.
Right.
Do you know where this place is?
No.
Oh, is it Sexy Jane or Sweet Jane? Sweet Jane's candy store.
Okay.
It's right over the Ocklawaha Bridge on the left side, where there's like a RV campground. Or something.
Okay. Right down. Okay. Right down there by 314A.
But you don't have to go through the gate into the
park. Right. It's right out there on the street.
The country store is. Yeah.
Cool.
Oh my gosh, we're almost out of time. Well, thank you for doing this, Caroline.
I always enjoy.
We think about you all the time, and I get questions all week long. I say you have to wait till
save it. Yeah, if you're not able to call in, go ahead and get on the page. Put it on there. I'll talk about it on the air, and so you'll be able to catch up on it as well as put your answer on the Facebook page too.
Very good. Do you have to work today?
No, I'm off, but I'm going over to Matt's place to go get my oil changed.
All right. And he's right here. He's up next.
I know.
All right, we'll be right back with Matt. This is The Source, WOCA Ocala.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA Ocala.
Fox News Radio. I'm Chris Foster. At least 22 people are dead in a highway bridge collapse in Genoa, Italy. Firefighters say about 20 cars and trucks were involved and that sniffer dogs and large equipment are being used to look for more people. There's about an 80-yard gap between the two remaining sections of the bridge on a highway connecting Italy and France. President Trump tweets, another terrorist attack in London. These animals are crazy and must be dealt with through toughness and strength. A man's under arrest, pulled from a car by police after driving into people near the British Parliament building. 3 are hurt.
Witnesses describe seeing a car driving at speed against traffic, hitting pedestrians and cyclists, and then crashing into a security barrier.
It was actually behind me, so I thank God that I wasn't actually hit.
Police say the crash is being treated as a terrorist incident.
Fox's Simon Owen in London. Fox News. We report, you decide.
Are you taking Viagra and tired of paying $50 per tablet? Marley Drug has generic Viagra for just $10 per tablet. $10 for generic Viagra is a savings of $40 per dose. Call now and get free shipping on 10 tablets or more of generic Viagra. Marley Drug is a North Carolina pharmacy licensed in all 50 states. For information, go to marleygenerics.com or call us at 800-452-1760. That's 800-452-1760.
Welcome to Office Depot. Can I help you?
Absolutely. I've got to get my school shopping done today.
All right. Right now, we've got mechanical pencils and